Most people think of style as technique, and technique as style. Style is more complex than that. We're moving into that now. In fact, it's today's title. Let's talk about style apart from technique. I'm going to pause first, though. If you want to draw, draw. If you want to make notes, make notes. These next few minutes are going to be a lesson that we didn't deal with in this course, but that we spent 12 weeks at a time. Some of you did it twice with me in the composition course. Let's take a few minutes on it. We're talking about style here as design. Look at that as a pattern. Do you think he was aware of that pattern? He was aware of that pattern. I will elaborate. In your studies, learn to see artwork as abstract pattern. It's a major part of your training. That is where artists secretly design a picture. It's not the only way they design a picture. Storytellers design the stuff in the picture. That's storytelling. But he could have painted this like noir. He could have painted this like noir, or done it with paper cutouts, or animated it, or sculpted it and told the same story. This is a story, in a sense, but it is a pen and ink drawing composed as a graphic drawing. Now let's do the trick we do in composition. Let's see the composition apart from the subject matter. Watch. If you didn't already know, you may not have read that for the subject matter. It could be an archipelago. He used that a lot. Some artists love that. Look at groups of islands. Study their patterns until you can design with them. We're talking about abstract design. This is a book called Rembrandt's Mark. I bought it because it had close-ups of Rembrandt's marks, which, like Kley's, are many and nothing if not masterful and apparently effortless. Look at the hand. By the way, that's not a bird quill. That's a grass quill. That was before steel pins. That's a blade of grass, almost certainly, on very absorbent paper. Maybe brush in there too, for the bigger parts. This was not in that book. It's Rembrandt. That'd be a bird quill, sharper. But I'm showing it to you for a reason. I remember reading an art historian talk at length about how one of Rembrandt's sketches, not this one, that seemed like an offhand sketch, was carefully composed. The author described graphic relationships all over the piece, interconnecting lines, noticing ratios and echoes, and even though what the art historian said made sense, I thought, how could Rembrandt be thinking all that? And now I understand that the answer is that he wasn't thinking it so much as feeling it, like a musician jamming. How much time does the musician have to be thinking about it if it's an improv? Feeling that as a design, it's getting too crowded. It's a little too open here. Feeling that there are too many hatch lines, or not enough, or that we need to dig in some heavy parts here. Feeling that a thin outline distributed throughout will help accent the shadows. That's composition. Storytelling is that this looks like an overweight middle-aged man and a 19-year-old woman, she nude, he dressed, having a ball together, being tossed up in the air by an old man. I don't know what's going on here, but that's part of the play. We're looking into a world where we are not in on the inside story. Now, let's put them both together. Different ways to see. This one has nothing to do with form. Sure, some downplanes are dark and start to look thick in the designs, but that's arbitrary. How come he's not doing that with a cast shadow all over this guy's body? It's not arbitrary. It's part of his design. Some upplanes are dark. If he's wearing a dark coat, he could have put him in a light coat. This is so not about anatomy. There's a hand in there, but why'd you break the fingers? This is not about pen and ink technique. And here's something important about these studies. We lose texture as one design element with these blur jobs. This has texture from the medium. That's part of composition too. Thin outlines, light hatching, heavy hatching, music dynamics. When the musician just feels like, I'm going to get louder here, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to build up. This is the music as a composition coming through mushy speakers. You still get the rhythm and the tune, but you can't tell the instruments. If you're studying composition, listening to the composition over mushy speakers, you can still learn a lot. If you're studying composition, that was the analytical studies. Look over his work for patterns and visual strategies. And then you decide what works for you. This is a visual strategy of abstract design that nobody looking at this one ever thinks about for value relationships unless, like some of you, they study it. Now to technique. If you'd like the whole course on Heinrich Kley, go to my website, martialart.com.